Do you feel like you're mojo deficient, lacking confidence or self-esteem, spinning around in circles? This is often because your inner truth has been compromised in some way, maybe even corrupted after a spiritual injury or trauma. Your ego starts screaming at you, and because of this, your inner teacher has a hard time getting through with its valuable guidance. In this video, I'll show you what to do when you feel upside down, like you've lost your mojo. So stay tuned.
Well, hi there and welcome. My name is Remy, like Do-Re-Mi. I'm a best-selling author and creator of the Get Unstuck Revolution. I help extraordinary women with big-ass dreams just like you who want to get unstuck from a life that doesn't work and get to where you know you need to be, into a life that's filled with passions and purpose. Now let's get started with today's episode.
Okay, let me jump off the screen here and switch over to my laptop. Today, we're talking about what to do when you feel like you're mojo deficient, lacking confidence and turning around in circles trying to follow your inner direction or follow guidance from your inner teacher. As business owners, or even if we have a quote-unquote real job, or even in our relationships at home or at work, we can sometimes find ourselves lacking in self-esteem, like we've lost our mojo. We want to make some decisions toward a direction, but we don't know which direction. Or maybe we just want to get started on a goal with a really clear entry point or stepping stones for action. But we have a mental war going on and just feel like we're mojo deficient. We can't seem to find our inner direction or even our inner truth for what we really want. In this episode, we'll be talking about why many spiritual teachings may contain an element of truth, but they aren't actually 100% accurate. How, when you expand your knowledge through spiritual teachers, your inner teacher can find brand new ways to communicate with you, and the anatomy of how new ideas create new thought patterns and how this helps us to get our mojo back. Yes, we're talking about how to find your hidden power when you want to transform challenges into successes. I like to call it the audacity of alchemy, because when you're feeling stuck, it's never the situation that has you stuck. It's your energy that's become stuck in doubts, worries, frustrations, indecision. In other words, it isn't the pain of the situation. It's the pain of not being connected in the natural energy of who you really are, of being connected to that magical part of you that's a creative vibrational being who can use positive energies to create what you want and bring it into physical manifestation. Part of this process is to allow your manifestations to materialize and not get stuck in the negative vibrations that block them. These positive energies that we talk about so much are where you find the magic of alchemy. And using your hidden power means using these positive energies to effect transformation. Because if you're like me, then you're someone who has the audacity, the willingness to take bold risks and transform challenges into success. So let's talk about this idea of transformation and the audacity of alchemy. You know, mojo comes from living squarely in your very natural, very magical, positive energy without the negative thoughts of ego. Yes, ego steals our positive energy and we end up feeling mojo deficient. So how do we get back to that again? How do we reach our inner truth again? How do we recenter in our spiritual center? Well, we often find ourselves looking for inspiration through spiritual teachers, even though this can sometimes overwhelm us even more. Many spiritual teachings contain elements of the truth, although they may not be 100% accurate. And I could probably go out on a limb and say that no spiritual teaching found in the material world is 100% accurate. A spiritual teaching, whether we're talking about the Tao or the Course in Miracles or even the Law of Attraction, a spiritual teaching is always given through the consciousness of a person, whether it's a speaker or an author or a radio guest. It goes through their filter. So it's inevitable that any spiritual teaching has been affected by the consciousness of the person receiving a message or acting as a messenger. This filter will be made up of their own beliefs and experiences and maybe even their own limitations. We could be talking about preachers, therapists, spiritual advisors, life coaches, psychics, parents, siblings, TV hosts, pretty much anyone who teaches or offers insights, ideas, or inspiration. And yes, I'm including myself. I have beliefs and experiences just like we all do. I've also experienced limitations, and I've had those moments of mojo deficiency too. So as we talk about this idea of mojo deficiency and finding an inner truth or an inner teacher or an inner direction, I encourage you to stay open, but also to liberally use your own judgment and discernment as you listen and learn from different spiritual teachers. There's one thing that I learned a long time ago that I've never forgotten, and that is, if it's true for you, then it's true. That becomes your filter. Now, in some cases, the personal agenda of the messenger can color the spiritual teaching or even distort the message. For instance, my personal agenda is always that it isn't a situation that has you stuck, it's your energy about the situation that has you stuck, and how using the hidden power of positive energy creates transformation. It creates alchemy. So my agenda is to help you transform these challenges into successes. Even if a person has no agenda, the contents of their consciousness can still affect the spiritual teaching. They may have limited understanding about what they're teaching. In other words, what they've learned has been limited to their own life or business. They've found a match within their own belief system. They also may have limited understanding about your experiences, your culture, and your belief systems. So whether a spiritual teacher has an agenda or not, our responsibility as the student is to filter what they're saying and pick out the pieces that we can apply for our own lives. Just because they say one thing we might not agree with doesn't mean that we should throw the baby out with the bathwater. There might be other little pearls of wisdom within what they're teaching. You know, I remember one time I went with a friend to see that movie called Straight Outta Compton. Do you remember that one? It was sort of a biography or documentary about a rap group. Now, I couldn't relate to the movie at all, but my friend was a professional musician. I went simply because he wanted to see the movie. And I went with the idea that even if I got only one thing out of the movie, it would have been worthwhile. And after the movie was over, he thanked me for going with him, and he even seemed a little surprised that I even went at all. And I told him that my objective was to see if I could learn something new, and then I shared with him what I got out of the movie. I could have just as easily complained or found fault with the storyline or griped about the direction of the film, but I went with the idea that it might teach me something. And I just stayed open to the ideas while using a healthy dose of discernment to see whether I could apply its ideas or concepts to my own life. So whether we're learning from a spiritual teacher or a movie or a book, the idea is the same. We're looking to see what's true for us and maybe even expand our inner truth. Through its message, we might find a new direction for a challenge we're in, or we might be inspired toward a solution. So what happens if you're having trouble finding this inspiration so that you can get your mojo back and bring success to you? Well, I have an amazing new tool to get you unstuck from mojo deficiency and into patterns of wholeness and centeredness. It's called the Alchemy Matrix, and it's going to help you shape your destiny. It's an interactive roadmap designed to help you solve problems, dissolve barriers, and create a future that you'd like to see. Just a brief reminder that you can sign up to learn more about the Alchemy Matrix at successcircleworkshops.com, and I promise to tell you more about that in a minute. But for now, we're talking about looking to see what's true for us as we expand our inner truth. We're talking about looking for the messages within a spiritual teaching or even a movie. The messenger has to find a way to deliver profound and meaningful teachings that we in the audience can relate to. And the more the messenger is free of any personal agenda, the more pure the spiritual teaching can be. And sometimes they do it best through a story. This is often what shamans do. Because they may not use words and concepts that are in our vocabulary and consciousness, it would be difficult to project their ideas on a topic that we know nothing about. In other words, it isn't just that the messenger understands a topic. They also have to be aware of our consciousness and what we can understand. For instance, I had someone tell me once that he picked up a copy of Dianetics. And while the concepts may have been interesting, he said he couldn't even get through the first part of the book because it just made no sense to him. It was beyond what he could relate to, and so he didn't get anything out of it. It didn't inspire him. It didn't help him get his mojo back. So there are two flows here. One flow is the teaching that's being projected, and the other is the teaching that's being received. As we're talking about our inner truth and our inner guide, well, there's also one more flow that we can talk about, and that is that every time we receive new information, there's also a possibility that our inner teacher can now communicate with us in a brand new way because our understanding has just expanded. And this is one of the best arguments I can make for staying open. This is where we find that little touch of magic, that little touch of alchemy. Our inner teacher can take this as a springboard to speak to us in a new way. And this is one of the reasons that I love to read a book as if the author is speaking directly to me as a coach. Somehow, I can take the information in a little bit differently than if I'm just reading the material just for the sake of reading it. You've heard me say this before, that one of my favorite questions is, where do I belong in this? This one question keeps me open, not just to receive new information that expands my own consciousness, but also to receive new guidance from my own inner teacher. And now a similar question might be, how does the situation I'm in, or this new knowledge that I'm receiving, advance the agenda of my soul? How does this new knowledge advance the agenda of my soul? Making sense? Okay, let's move on. You know how one thought often creates another thought and then another and another? You wake up and you think, oh, what a pretty day this is, and then a new thought will tag along like, I wonder if it's going to be warm today, and then another might follow like, maybe I could go to the beach today, and then another thought could chime in like, I think I'll open up all the windows in my house and maybe do a little spring cleaning. In other words, one thought creates another and another and another, and these thoughts come in a stream. And this is one of the reasons that positive thinking is so important, because one positive thought collects another and another, just like one negative thought can also build on itself in a negative way. One thought can begin to build our mojo, and just one negative thought can begin to tear it down. So when we listen to a spiritual teacher, we may not agree with what's being said, but if we're open, it'll spur a series of thoughts that can open us up to new ideas, solutions, epiphanies, and aha moments. So we have to let go of disagreeing with a spiritual teacher and look for those insights that make sense to us, those insights that we agree with and can build on. In expanding our consciousness this way, we tap into more and more of our hidden power. In expanding our consciousness, we're able to let go of fears and confusion and negativities and all the blah, blah, blah that our ego thinking wants to pursue. We get unstuck from the things that have us trapped and can begin to move toward more positive energies that can bring about more positive experiences. When we really look at it, the purpose of any spiritual teaching is to bring about a transformation of consciousness. So most spiritual teachers have a deep desire to have a profound and pure message, but that doesn't mean that you can't explore beyond their message, because sometimes there are missing pieces that can cause confusion. What you're learning may not be complete in and of itself, even if the teacher says that the resource is indeed complete. I'll give you an example. I had someone tell me that she had been studying the Course in Miracles, what she considered a complete text, and she learned that the ego literally wants us to die. And she found that to be very overly dramatic, that the ego wants us to die. But it caused within her something that she called a progressive revelation. In other words, it caused her to go study other sources. And she said that she liked the way I explained ego as a way of seeing differences between what we want and what we don't want, so that we can use our thoughts and energies to create what we do want. In her own world, she liked that much better than the concept that ego wanted her to die. So I love the idea of not glopping onto one resource, but to let one resource lead us to another and another as our consciousness expands. Now, the other purpose of a spiritual teaching is to help us establish contact with our inner teacher. Some people call this Christ consciousness. As you know, I like the term spiritual self. No matter what we call it, though, wouldn't it be our mojo, our confidence, the essence of who we are as vibrational beings, able to create and transform our world through positive energies? Once we establish that contact with our inner teacher, we can allow ourselves to be directed to other spiritual teachings that'll help us grow. As long as we follow these inner impulses, we can make maximum progress. It's only when we allow ourselves to become attached to a particular teaching or get hung up in all the ways we disagree with that teaching that our progress slows down or even comes to a halt, or worse, ego begins to direct our decisions again. Making sense? Okay. Well, one last thing here. It's quite difficult to gauge the accuracy or purity or truthfulness of a spiritual teaching. It's difficult. It will very much depend on the criteria we use for evaluating that teaching. And this is why so many preachers and spiritual advisors and shamans use stories. If a student has not yet developed the discernment to tell the difference between a true idea and an idea that is distorted or erroneous, a story is something a student can relate to and distill whatever ideas and concepts will apply to their own life. And this is why I say, if it's true for you, then it's true. If it applies to you, and if it's something that you can use to grow and expand your own experience, that's a good thing, whether the teaching was pure and accurate or not. As we mature and begin to develop inner attunement, the question of the purity of a spiritual teaching becomes less important. We've now developed a certain inner discernment, and with our mojo, we can study a teaching and divide the true, useful ideas while ignoring the inaccurate ideas. And what's even better, we can do it without judgment. So when we feel like we're mojo deficient, when we feel our ego screaming too loudly or our negative thoughts are running us over, we can turn to nearly any spiritual teaching for inspiration. Soaking in new ideas like a sponge helps us recover our mojo 1,000,000 times faster than allowing ourselves to swim in negative energies. And in doing so, we're fine-tuning our inner truth, and we're more and more able to tap into this mojo or to tap into our hidden power. So, I have an exercise for you. If you're feeling mojo deficient, you can create a Mojo Mantra. Think about what spiritual teachers inspire you the most, and what have they said that really resonates with you. Their insight may become a mantra that you'll come back to whenever you're feeling mojo deficient. If you follow Deepak Chopra, you may have heard him say, every time you're tempted to react in the same old way, ask if you want to be a prisoner of the past or a pioneer of the future. That may be a saying that recenters you. Or if you follow Wayne Dyer, you may have heard him say, if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Maybe you've heard Mother Teresa say, joy is a net of love by which we catch souls. Maybe you've heard Brene Brown say, authenticity is the daily practice of letting go of who we think we're supposed to be and embracing who we are. Maybe you've heard Louise Hay say, every thought we think is creating our future. Love that. And of course, Neale Donald Walsch, life begins at the end of your comfort zone. So your exercise for today is to think of a spiritual teacher that inspires you and research some of their quotes or affirmations. And when you find something that really speaks to you, something that helps you recenter, this can become your Mojo Mantra for the day. Or you might even use it as a starting point for a meditation and then see how your inner teacher might like to add to it with these things where you get one thought after another, and just see where it leads you. Finding or creating one really great mantra can help you instantly get your mojo back. Well, I hope this helps you as you're using the powers of alchemy to transform challenges into positive new successes. But if you still can't get your head around what's got you stuck, you can tell me about it. You can leave a question here, or if you're someone who has the audacity, the willingness to take bold risks to transform challenges into success, you can find out more about our events at successcircleworkshops.com. This is where you can learn more about the audacity of alchemy and how to unlock your hidden power. You'll get a personalized, interactive roadmap that's custom designed to get you unstuck by unlocking your hidden power to create big, magical changes. You know, alchemy. You'll learn to solve problems, dissolve barriers, and bring success to you. So don't wait. Go to successcircleworkshops.com and get your personalized Alchemy Matrix package right now. You'll get a full-color workbook filled with hands-on exercises to inspire your creative energies. You'll get membership in your very own Success Circle for high-level masterminding and networking. You'll get your very own customized Alchemy Matrix to unlock your hidden power and bring success to you. And, of course, your very own personal Unstuckologist. Remember, the Alchemy Matrix is the only tool of its kind, and it's only available here. So, if you're ready to approach your life's challenges with audacity, if you're ready to finally banish frustration, indecision, and the negative spiral, if you're ready to watch success materialize right before your eyes, then don't settle for another minute of ordinary. Go to successcircleworkshops.com and get your personalized Alchemy Matrix package now, and watch the magic start to happen. Thanks for joining me today, and I'm wishing you a life filled with all the alchemy you need to bring success to you. Make sure to subscribe to this channel, and if you like what you've learned, be sure and give this video a thumbs up. You can also feel free to share this video with anyone you know who's feeling stuck. Thanks for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you in one of our upcoming Success Circles. You can find out more at successcircleworkshops.com.